Hello everyone out there on the internet. This is Chris McKee with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. Today is another Guitar 101 video. Class is back in session. We hope you're enjoying these. Today we are going to be focusing on an electric guitar bridge. There are a lot of different bridge designs that are out there, but they fall into four basic categories that we're going to be covering for you today and talking about the benefits of each one and why you might choose one or the other. So we're going to start right here with the Telecaster. Now, the Telecaster represents really the first successfully mass-produced and available solid body electric guitar that was ever made. Back in the 50s, Leo Fender designed this, and its simplistic design, ease of manufacturing, and fantastic sound have really made it a cornerstone of electric guitars to this day. The fact that the design hasn't really changed that much is a testament to how good it was to begin with. And a big part of that design starts with the bridge. And the bridge on this particular guitar is a string-through body bridge. Now there's a few different styles of this for a Telecaster that basically deal with changing of the saddles. Okay, but this guitar bridge design is based upon, first and foremost, a string-through design. What that means is that on the back of the guitar, the strings go through a ferrule, okay, that holds the ball end of the string in place. They come up through the top plate of the guitar and then over the saddles. Now, there are some variations of this design that either use saddles coming right off of the bridge ferrules and the holes for the strings, or that have the design of the anchor, the string-through anchor, further down on the guitar and using a different type of bridge, more like a bar that you'd see on a Les Paul, which we'll look at in a second. But the design starts with the strings going through the body and then over the saddles in whatever design it is and on from there. What are the benefits of this design? Well, first and foremost, you have incredible tuning stability because the strings are anchored in the body of the guitar itself. There's no movement, unless the guitar's very poorly built, they're anchored, and with tension on them, they're not going to move forward, they're not going to move aft, they're not going to move at all. They're going to be set where they are. And so if you are looking for a guitar that you can detune, go to drop tuning, or that you just really, really want to have a very stable tuning on, then having something that's like this is really hard to beat because, again, it's a fixed point and the string can't move. The other benefit of that is that if you understand that the body is going to receive some of that vibration and all of that has an impact on the pickup, but also the fact that it isolates some of that vibration so the string has more sustain, then you understand that that fixed point not only gives you more tuning stability, but it gives you increased sustain and can affect the tone that the pickup ultimately arrives at, picking up the vibration of the strings in the body itself, and so on and so forth. And it feels really good and really solid. It's also really easy to restring because you just put them through the back, you bring them through the front, and off you go. So that's really one of the initial bridge designs that have been out there. A string-through body is loved by bass players and guitar players alike for that stability, for that increased sustain. There's another take on this, however, in the solid body electric guitar world, and that's usually seen on something like a Gibson Les Paul. We're going to give you a slight variation here. So we switch to another Telecaster body. This is really cool. This is a Troublemaker Tele. It's a limited edition from Fender, and it's trying to basically make trouble by having some of the designs that you'd see on another very famous electric guitar, namely a Les Paul. Mahogany body, mahogany neck, maple top, humbuckers, three-way toggle switch, two tones, two volumes, and so forth. The other thing, though, that it apes from that design is this stop-tail bridge combination. Like the string-through design that we just saw, the strings are anchored in this stop tailpiece, okay? And then they go over this bar bridge right here and then on. Now, the nice thing about this is the adjustability that's built into it, and again, the anchor, tuning stability, and sustain that you get out of it. Now, instead of the strings going through the body, they're anchored in this stop tailpiece, which is then anchored to the body with very large, basically like bolts that are bolted into the body. Now that will transmit whatever vibration you think it will, but again, it gives you the stability, and it doesn't rob anything from the vibration of the strings themselves. By going over this other piece, this piece now becomes the actual bridge, has individual saddle adjustment for intonation, and then it has two height adjustments for the treble and the bass side to allow you to adjust your action. Now, this is a good thing to give you adjustability. You also have adjustability in the height of the stop tailpiece, which a lot of people don't realize changes the way the guitar feels if you adjust the height of that and then the break angle to the bridge that's in front of it. Now, you don't have the same kind of height adjustability that you would have with a string through body telly that had individual saddle height. You don't have the height adjustability that you have even with the one we were looking at, which has barrel saddles, okay? But you don't really necessarily need it because the bridge is made with the radius of the neck in mind, okay? So if you adjust the treble and bass side action, you can get it where you want it to be. A lot of people really like this design. It's pretty comfortable on your fretting hand against the palm. And again, it's locked in, it's not going anywhere, and it's very easy to change strings with. So like we saw before, you have increased tuning stability, you have increased sustain, you've got great adjustability, both on the tailpiece and the bridge, and then of course you have the comfort that's there. It looks pretty dang cool and beefy too. So that's the stop tailpiece. We're going to look at one more fixed bridge option before we move into some more, let's call it flexible options. Okay, so I'm holding in my hand an archtop hollow body guitar from Guild Guitars. This is the A150 Savoy. Really one of the best archtop guitars on the market, particularly for the money. What this guitar has is really a more classic electric guitar bridge that even predates a Telecaster string through or the stop tail design that we've seen on that Tele and we're familiar with on like a Gibson Les Paul or ES335. And that is with this bridge and a tailpiece. Now, tailpiece can often be called like a trapeze style tailpiece. This one's called a harp tailpiece because of the look that it gives you, but the design is all pretty much the same. You have a tailpiece that is anchored to the block, the tail block on the guitar, and then suspends over the top, anchoring the strings into it, and then allowing those to go over the bridge that's on the top. Now, depending upon the guitar, this bridge is usually made of wood and may or may not be pinned to the top. What that means is if it's not pinned, like this one, it will move. So if you take the strings off, it will move, and you need to make sure that it goes in the proper place so that you have intonation that's correct. A lot of more modern guitars, like a lot of the Gretsch guitars that are out today, pin that so that it doesn't move. Now, why go with this bridge design at all? So we have seen this on some semi-hollow guitars, particularly like ES Gibson models from the 60s would sometimes have a tailpiece bridge design. But you more often see this on a archtop guitar, something that's fully hollow. It was even utilized on some flat top acoustic guitars back in the day. And the reason is because you can't use a stop bar tailpiece because there's nothing to bolt to. If you bolted it to just the top, it would rip right off. You can use something like that on a ES335 because it's semi-hollow. The sides are hollow with the F-holes, but the middle has that solid piece. This is fully hollow, just like an acoustic guitar. And so there's nothing to anchor to here. So instead, you have to anchor down here where the strength at the tail block exists. And then suspend the strings, just like using like a suspension bridge, over the top, hitting this bridge so that the bridge transfers sound to the top and that the pickup can then pick up the vibrations of the sound as well. There's a lot of tuning stability here as long as the setup's correct. So again, as long as that bridge is in the right position, you have good intonation. It's adjustable, your action's adjustable. Again, it's carved with the radius of the string, the fretboard in mind, and the strings are anchored down here in the tailpiece. So it's not going to move a whole lot, but it is not as stable as a string through design or as a stop tail design, because I can take my wrist, I can take my palm and I can move it, which can be a cool thing. It gives you a little bit of vibrato without actually being a vibrato style bridge. And otherwise, if you're up here and you're not moving it, it's pretty stable. More importantly though, like I said, the reason for this design is to make sure that the top is free to vibrate. On an archtop guitar like this, even the pickup is not in the top, it's suspended over the top so that the top can vibrate and give it the archtop tone that we expect from this kind of guitar. Now we're going to look at one more style of bridge that comes in a lot of different varieties. Okay, so the last style of bridge that we're going to talk about is a vibrato style bridge. Now, if that throws you off, it might be because you've looked up the specs of a Stratocaster and seen it described as a tremolo. So I want to clarify that real quick. The reason we call it a tremolo is because we have Leo Fender to thank for it. Just like we have him to thank for a lot of electric guitar designs, which we love and cherish today, we also have him to thank for some bad terminology because he confused tremolo and vibrato. And for this reason, on Fender guitars, vibratos were called tremolos, and on the amps, tremolos were called vibratos. But let's clarify what it means. A vibrato actually means that you're changing the pitch of the note. Okay, you're bending it up or bending it down. A singer, when they kind of put some vibrato in their voice, you hear waves, and it's very pleasant. We like that sound. Tremolo is actually the change in the dynamic of the note. So the volume gets softer and louder. And you know, we tend to get this right when it comes to pedals. We tend to get it wrong on guitars and amps, again, because Leo confused the two terms. But this is a vibrato tailpiece or bridge that we call a tremolo. Now, the design of these on the Stratocaster is pretty basic, but functions very well and has been changed over the years, and there are a lot of different variations on it. But they all hold to a very similar path for the most part, and that is that you have a floating bridge or a bridge that has flexibility on it connected to some type of spring mechanism so that it can counteract the tension of the strings, but give you the flexibility to move it forward, move it after, or both, in order to change the actual pitch of the note, one note at a time, or maybe an entire chord. So this design is pretty familiar, and the bridge design on a Stratocaster has been changed and tweaked over the years. It's also very similar to the design that you'd see on like a Paul Reed Smith guitar and many, many others. This can be set up either to be floating or to be tied to the body. Some people block it off where it can't move at all because they want that rigidity, they want that stability that you'd get with like a Telecaster or some kind of fixed bridge design. But the way that it comes, like on this guitar, I don't know if you can see that, but it has some give to it. It's not on the body, okay? So if I hit a note, I can push it down, or with a bar, we call them whammy bars, tremolo bars, vibrato bars, I can grab that, okay, and I can lift up. That will push the bridge back and bend the note up. You can also bend it forward. The benefit of a design like this is that I can take the back cover off, adjust the springs and the claw here, and I can have it hold to the body, okay, so that if I bend a note, you know, then the springs don't pull it back and maybe make another note sour. It gives me some stability, but still allows me to pull it forward so that you still have that vibrato action that you may want. There are other designs like a Floyd Rose, which is a completely floating trim that's designed with a locking nut and micro adjustment tuning machines down here and a knife edge that allows you to get a lot more movement than you can on a more vintage design like this. You can dive bomb, it's very stable and whatnot because the strings are all locked in place and the action of it is very, very smooth. Downside is that it's more difficult to set up. And then finally you have a Bigsby style design which has kind of like the bridge we saw on the Telecaster tied to a tailpiece similar to what we saw on the Guild, but is designed to allow the strings to move on a kind of fulcrum with the spring in place, always coming back to that center position, but allowing you to have a lot of subtle vibrato that's there. So why get this or not get this? If you want to be able to add vibrato to that note, then you want to have a vibrato style bridge. That's all there is to it. And you can decide once you have one how you want to set it up. But if you are wanting to play high gain, shred, metal, or whatever that's going to need a lot of movement, then you want something that provides that. This type of bridge doesn't typically provide that. You also, if you're looking at a vibrato style guitar or a tremolo, right, then you want to make sure that you understand how it works and how it needs to be set up. And if you don't know how to do that, to take it to a competent repair technician like we employ to get that done, because the downside to this style of bridge is tuning stability. If you don't have it set up correctly and you move that, if you utilize the vibrato functionality, then you can go out of tuning, okay? And all of the improvements or the tweaks on the design that have happened over the years with this style of bridge have all been done in an attempt to make it more stable. So this 6 screw design, very, very different than what you'd see on a American Professional or Elite Stratocaster, or even the new Player Series Stratocaster that uses 2-post design with a knife edge fulcrum point so that there's better tuning stability. Tuning stability, people. So that's what you're looking at with a vibrato, or like I said, more commonly called a tremolo style bridge. And it's got a lot of benefits on there, but you have to know what you're getting going in. If you have a guitar like that and you don't want it, you can block it, you can change it, you can get it set up correctly. If you have tuning stability issues and you want to make sure that you use it, most of my electric guitars are floating trim design. I utilize it. I don't have tuning issues. It's all about how you set up and maintain the guitar. So I hope that's very helpful for you and helps you understand a little bit about the differences in the bridge designs that you'll see out there. And like I said, we didn't get into all the types of this. Jazzmasters have a different type, Jaguars have a different type, but they're still vibrato bridges. But it falls into one of these basic categories: string through, stop tail, trapeze, or vibrato, with the variations on there. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to check out below. If you'd like to know more information, go to our website, alamomusic.com, or give us a call and talk to us about it. Check this out. Hey, thanks so much for watching the videos we put out on YouTube. We make these with the goal of helping you find the right instrument to suit your needs, to find the perfect fit so that you find the right guitar and bring many years of joy. We believe strongly that if you play a note, it can change your life. But if you're shopping for a guitar right now, you may be overwhelmed by the amount of choices that are available. Should you get an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, a classical guitar? Which features matter? Price points, things like that. It can be overwhelming. And for that reason, I've written a guitar buyer's guide called Don't Get a Good Deal on the Wrong Guitar. Follow the link below to download this very comprehensive guide that will talk about every aspect that you should be paying attention to when it comes to purchasing a new guitar. If you ever have questions or need help, go to our website, alamomusic.com. We're here to help. Thanks.